D. grant from the U.S. Department of Labor and aired in cooperation with the IBA and this station.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show is Mr. Jay Pratte. He is the new executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. Jay, welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. A little chilly. I mean, winter sure started with a bang for us here, but I'm doing great otherwise. Thanks,
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for making time for us. Now, I know you hail from Canada, so how does the start of the Central Illinois winter compare to the start of the Canadian winter?
Growing up, we had a few frostbite Halloweens, and we would have some early snows, but it's pretty similar down here. I'm from the prairie provinces. It's pretty open and flat there too, and when it drops, and then you just know you're in for it the rest of the year.
Yep, gotcha. Very good. Well, Jay, highlight your journey to Miller Park Zoo. How did you end up in Bloomington Normal?
I've been, I loved animals since I was a little kid, and completely by accident, I wasn't raised around a zoo. Like, it wasn't even an opportunity like that had entered into my head. And then as I was working on my degree in university for law, of all things, because I thought, hey, that's something that'll at least get me a good career. Some friends are like, you should go check this place out. It has all the big cats you love outside the city. So I did, started volunteering, started working there, and I never ever looked back. I changed my degree focus for both that and my later master's degree. And just, I loved what I did. I specialized with big cats. That turned into bears somewhat as I kept learning. It was really trying to find the right fit and the right job. And so as I made some changes, over time, and I took on more responsibility, I became, a senior zookeeper, then I became a supervisor, then it was a department head and manager to, here where I am now. This was kind of over my career, my ultimate goal. And for Miller Park Zoo, it's in an area of the country. I have a lot of friends, colleagues that work up in the Chicago area. I know the area well. Being Canadian, the weather didn't throw me off. And having such a great small little zoo that's well respected in the community, that has been AZA accredited for so many years, it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And I really enjoyed when I came to visit, meeting the team, meeting the folks from the city, the park and rec department. It felt like such a good fit. So I threw my hat in, and here we are.
Yeah, I know you mentioned, Jay, that you've had several stops along the way. Where have you been, and what have some of your responsibilities and duties been, and what have you learned as you've made this journey?
I've learned to keep my fingers to myself, which is why I have all of them, especially when you're working with big cats and bears. No, so I've done a bunch of different things. The game farm I started at, it had in the late 50s, early 60s, it was the biggest one in all of Canada. It was Al Oming's Alberta Game Farm. And then over the years, as he put less attention into it, his focus drew elsewhere, and it became a little more run down. It was called Polar Park because it had all cold weather animals. And Al actually, was retiring from it. He ended up selling the property, and that's when I looked to move on. I did work in the film industry for about a year and a half, training animals for TV and for movies. Found out that wasn't my thing. Much as I loved animal training, I really loved being able to care for them on a daily basis and figure out how I could make their lives better long term through programs, through management. And so that sort of started shaping, where I wanted to go. I was seasonal in Calgary for a little bit, but that wasn't a full-time position. So as I looked for full-time, I started really researching how I could get into the United States. And there was a NAFTA contingency that as a zoologist, because of my degree, I was able to come and work down here. And so I started off in Little Rock as a carnivore keeper. I was a year later brought in as a senior keeper in Dallas. It was for the ExxonMobil tiger habitat, which I just absolutely loved. Did a lot of great work there with the tigers, a lot of teaching with other staff at zoos, speaking at conferences, papers on the work that I did, training the big cats there. And then an opportunity popped up in Atlanta where giant pandas. And there was only 4 zoos at the time in all of North America with giant pandas. And I thought, you know what? this is something I've got to give it a try. That let me go to China. I got to work with them over in Chengdu at the research base, teaching the staff, teaching the animals. It was such a great experience. And then that's when I started getting into the leadership roles. After I'd been taking care of the bears for so long, they moved me over into a supervisory role with the program animals, the animal ambassadors, the ones you get to meet when you go to the zoo. And that really led to my love of behavior, not just training, but the enrichment, the welfare, the daily well-being of the animals, and then planning ahead for education programs, for the bigger picture, items that then, led to where I am now. I spent 11 years in Omaha as a manager. I was a department manager there in Omaha. That was a great 11 years. There was a short little jaunt to Utica where I was the deputy director in New York, and then this opportunity showed up. So that was where I kind of came over here, because this was too good of an opportunity to pass up.
Well, what was appealing about the Miller Park Zoo, Jay?
Again, it's interesting because it's being a smaller zoo. That's what I wanted to approach. I've worked at the big ones. I've worked at, Omaha's an enormous zoo. So is the Dallas Zoo. And when you work at the smaller zoos like Atlanta, you've got a family feel. You know your staff. You see them every day. You know what's going on with them. There's a more personal feel to that I really actually appreciate. And it's a beautiful zoo. I'd followed the programs for years. It has some big cats and some of the animals that I love the most. I had met two of the staff previously. We have two animal caregivers here who I had known from actually when I was getting my master's degree at AZA leadership programs. And it's in a beautiful area. I mean, Bloomington is a nice space. It's outside of Chicago, but we can still get there if we need to. And Miller Park is beautiful. So having a great little zoo that's supported by the city as its own department, it's well supported and regarded by the community, and it's in this beautiful setting here in Miller Park. It was something that I found really appealing with the cost of living and everything else, that it's one of those places you can see setting up and being happy for a long time.
Jay Pratte is the new executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, our guest on the phone here for this morning. Jay, you walk into a zoo that is in the midst of a rather, big initiative in terms of its master plan and those sorts of things. Talk to me a little bit about how much you've been able to kind of learn about not just the master plan, but what the zoo has going on, its plans not only for the future, but just the everyday programs and all the things that the zoo offers. What have you learned? What do you like? And what's your vision for the Miller Park Zoo?
So when you talk about walking into a number of things, AZA accreditation is one of those. That's coming up next year, which we have to prepare for. I wasn't presented with the opportunity for transition time with the previous director. So I'm working off of, kind of notes. And like you said, learning what the existing programs are. I ask a lot of questions, how we got where we are, why, what our targets and what our goals are. I've got a great relationship with the city, with the Zoological Society here, and particularly like the animal care and the keeper staff and management. So everybody's being really helpful. They're really trying to share not only with why we are where we are and what these choices were made, but also what they would like to see. So there's, already this kind of atmosphere of encouragement and desire for progress and growth that I'm getting from the team here, which is really exciting for me. And I'm trying to kind of learn where we're going to best fit. That's going to involve the community. So as I talk with, interviews like this, as we do surveys, as we work with our guests that come in, what do they want to see? What's important to them at the zoo as well, whether it's through our education, our programs. We're trying out some new events. I guess about a month ago, we had a princess party, which was a huge hit. That was new for us. And then I also inherited, as you guys may know, that whole South America project. It had been planned and designed, those new exhibits, before I arrived, but I'm here now, and we're dealing with the construction and the project management, which is great. It's on time, it's on budget. I don't even know how all that's possible, but it is. And so there are so many moving pieces. What I'm trying to do is figure out where we are while figuring out those things that are important to me. And again, animal welfare, community engagement, and really sharing the message that we're the stewards of the animals. It's up to us to make sure we're not only taking care of them, we're taking care of the environment. And how do we work that messaging into everything we do while making sure people have an amazing experience here when they come to the Miller Park Zoo? So I'm figuring that out. We've got some new ideas for what we could be looking at for, exhibits based on our space, what we could look at for event center and education spaces. So there's so much going on. A new master plan and a new animal collection plan are on my list for things I also have to accomplish, but that's not going to be done in a vacuum. That's going to be done with everybody: visitors, guests, members, stakeholders, animal caregivers, everybody.
Jay, talk to me about let's dive into the animals at the Miller Park Zoo. What do you like about the animals, and how about the care they receive? We'll talk to me about those things.
So we have some really great species. Some I've worked with snow leopards and tigers before. Those have always been my favorite. But over the years, I've really learned to become attached to some of the ones that, aren't, as we call them, charismatic megafauna. The big animals everybody loves to go and see. I've worked with elephants. I've worked with rhinos. I've really grown to appreciate, for example, armadillos. We have a couple three-banded armadillos here. They're such neat and amazing little animals we kind of take for granted, but when you watch them, when you learn about them, they've got such interesting lives, interesting evolution, that they've really kind of grown on me. And you would never think, but there's little personalities in there that each animal has. And that's one of the things over the years I've really learned, is to look for those different little things in species you wouldn't expect it to come from. We have keepers here that are so passionate about what they do. Some of them have been here for decades. They are that dedicated. They love working here. I do know, I've read some previous emails that when we have a position open for animal keeper or basically anything at the zoo, we end up with hundreds of applications because the zoo is respected enough and they're doing such a great job with animal care. The team dedicated to letting me know where they are, what they would like to see improve, and helping me be part of that process.
Sure. Jay, as we wrap up this conversation, you mentioned the fact that you worked with elephants and rhinos and the big cats and those sorts of things, and those a lot of times are what draw people to the zoo. But a space like Miller Park Zoo, you're pretty landlocked, so expansion to offer those things is probably not, necessarily something you're going to be able to do, at least near term. So again, just kind of talk about how you market those small animals and their unique features and the things that they have going on that make them special. How about that?
Well, we'll use South America as an example. One of the new species coming in, the tortoises, they're going to move over to their new exhibit and habitat, which is being built. We'll have the new holding building. We'll have a little tiny Chilean deer species known as the poodoo. We'll have a giant anteater. Everyone loves anteaters, but we're getting in bush dogs. Now, I've only ever come across bush dogs once. It was years ago when I was in Little Rock, and they are not at all what you expect. They are little pack animals, and I mean, they look like somebody crossed like a dachshund with a corgi and then gave it an attitude. They're short, they're squat, they're tiny, they're fierce little pack animals, but they're great. They have these amazing family groups and these really complex lives, but most people have never heard of them. In fact, most people have never seen them because they're so reclusive and they live like in the jungle understory, that I think it's going to be amazing to be able to bring the animals here, engage them in their new exhibit, which is already going to be exciting for people. There's a new exhibit opening at the zoo, but there's going to be this fun, cool species that no one's seen before. Not that many zoos have them. That's going to be special here. And we'll get to tell the animal story, not only each animal, where they came from, what makes them special, why they came here to the park, but what makes bush dogs an amazing species, why they're so fun. There'll be education, of course, with it. And we'll be encouraging people to, be able to give us feedback, participate in, how the animals are, engaged in their environment in a way that is new and it's novel. You don't have to always have as much fun and as wonderful as elephants and rhinos and their conservation and their stories are. There's just as important as stories with these littler guys that people know less about. And that's what I'm really hoping we can get the community excited about. And when we make them personal through social media, we tell everybody their names, tell everybody their stories, I think the community will jump right on board and love them as much as we do.
Jay, how do folks follow along with all things Miller Park Zoo?
So we do have a city page on the city website. We do the Miller Park Zoological Society manages a website page, and we have Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. I think we're on Twitter as well. I'd have to double check that. Again, I'm trying to keep up with all of it, but we have a really great social media presence. Our team is really active in keeping people up to date with what's happening with the animals, the staff, and events. So that's going to be your main contact point, and you can always call the zoo. You can always give us a call here, and we'll let you know what events are happening, how you can get tickets, and what we can do to help you.
That is Jay Pratte. He is the new executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. We've got more with him coming your way on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Now that the weather is turning colder, who's needing a new coat? At Love It Once More Thrift Store in Clinton, we have all our coats on sale this month for 20% off. This is Connie encouraging you to shop early for the best selection and to check out our Facebook page or DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is Ryan Utterback with Utterback Real Estate in Clinton. We are thankful for all the families we were able to serve this past year.
And this is Ryan Dalton, wishing you happy holidays and looking forward to serving even more families in 2023.
Learn how Utterback Real Estate in Clinton can serve you by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Warner Hospital in Clinton has much for which to be thankful. Among the most important is the friendship and patronage of their many friends and customers throughout the area. During this very special holiday, please accept the thanks of Warner Hospital in Clinton. The Pilgrims started our Thanksgiving holiday. They set the day aside to thank God for their blessings. Country Financial Agent Buddy Wilson in Clinton hopes that you and your family will observe the day in the spirit of the Pilgrims. Country Financial Agent Buddy Wilson in Clinton believes there is so much to be thankful for.
There's nothing like hearing the songs you love on local radio with no subscriptions and no monthly fees. But there's a new bill in Congress that could stop the music. If passed, this bill would tax your local radio station simply to play the music you love. Text LOCAL to 52886 and ask Congress to support local radio stations. Help us keep you connected to the music, local news, weather, and traffic that you need each day. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
At Golden Harvest, our best skill is knowing how to listen. From our Gold Series soybean and game-changing corn portfolios to our expert insights housed in the Illuminate digital agronomy platform, everything we offer is an answer to what we've heard from you. This is how we listen.
Copyright 2021 Syngenta. The trademarks or service marks used herein are the property of a Syngenta Group company. All other trademarks are the property of their respective owners.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Jay Pratte is the new executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, our guest on the phone. And, well, Jay, I can't believe we're at this time of year already, but it is time for Wild Lights at Miller Park Zoo, probably one of your more popular events that the zoo has to offer. Tell us about what you've learned about Wild Lights and what's going on.
So I've gotten drawn right on in. The team here is hard at work. They are putting up Christmas lights every day. They're putting up decorations. They're planning for the events. We have 2 breakfasts with Santas coming up. They both sold out within I think a week or so of us posting those. But Wild Lights is the evening event. I think people have attended this before. This year it's going to be December 2nd and 3rd, and then again on the 9th and 10th from 5 until 8 p.m. $3 for members, $8 for non-members. We're going to have many of the areas of the zoo open and available for wandering through. We're going to be selling s'mores packets if the weather's okay, so people can come in and have snacks and enjoy themselves here. There'll be some vendors, some crafts for kids as well. It's just, there's thousands of lights and decorations that are going up, and it's going to be a beautiful little winter wonderland for people to really come and have a nice, safe place to enjoy with their families.
When is Wild Lights? What's it all about?
Again, Wild Lights will be December 2nd and 3rd, 9th and 10th, 5 to 8 p.m., and it's all over the zoo. So.
Very good. So look forward to that. Jay, in terms of Wild Lights, I venture a guess that the animals, when they gets past dark, you'll have almost a whole new atmosphere for the zoo. Talk about that a little bit, and maybe the animals that are going to shine in the night, if you will.
So obviously, with the weather being what it is, we do have several species that will be inside, particularly if it's after dark. But there's always going to be those that are cold weather tolerant, like the snow leopards that may have access. And if they choose to go outside and, see the guests and hang out there, we'll be able to see them. Otherwise, this is one of the things, it's something people don't know. My favorite time at every zoo I've worked at to go out and take a walk is right before we open or right after we close, because there's a calmness, there's a peace to it. And that's like you just said, it's a really different feel. Being in the zoo after hours, you can hear the animals, you know they're there, but it's such a different feeling and different atmosphere. It's really something you got to experience at least once. It's a whole different kind of peace without, all the events going on and all this crazy stuff happening and families and children all over and carousels going. There's a calm, there's a peace to it, and it's just that paired with beautiful Christmas lights and a fun evening atmosphere, I think is going to be a different experience people haven't associated with the zoo, and they should try it.
Definitely. I told you off the air, I took my kids to this a couple of years ago. It was a lot of fun. And, for how many people were there, Jay, I thought the atmosphere was actually just really, kind of calm and mellow. Like you would have thought by all the cars in the parking lot and the amount of people you saw, there'd be kind of a lot of hustle and bustle and maybe even a touch of chaos, but it just felt very, I don't know, just really chill. Like I said, it was a great atmosphere.
Yep. Like I said, one of my favorite things to do is be at earlier or later, events and just enjoy that little bit of extra tranquility.
Very good. Well, Jay, as we come up on the giving season, of course, Giving Tuesday will be right around the corner, and you're asking folks to keep the Miller Park Zoo in mind. Talk about this with us.
Yeah, well, I mean, people have been there. I think most folks are familiar with Giving Tuesday right now. The campaign is always, done in partnership with them. I think it's on November, I'd have to double check, 29th this year, I believe.
29th. Yep,
and
correct.
it's after Black Friday. It's after Cyber Monday. And whether you're a zoo member, guest, someone who just loves animals and conservation, that's such a critical part of what we do here to help with education, conservation, and just taking care of the animals. So if people can think about Miller Park Zoo, in this international campaign, we would absolutely appreciate it. And on a smaller scale, we're also doing something a little more local. The first time, some of our animal care staff have actually set up. They're calling it Presents for Paws.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to set up a tree here in our gift shop with ornaments that have little items and stuff attached that the animals need, and people can either pick out an ornament with the item and pay for it there in the gift shop, or purchase themselves and bring it back to the zoo. There's a whole range of different kind of prices on those.
Yeah.
Or,
Jay, I don't mean to do this to you, my friend. I hate to do this. I got to cut you off and let you go for the morning. Jay Pratte is the new executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. Network News is now.
The effects of inflation are showing up in retailers' quarterly reports. Macy's reported declines in profits and sales, but the results beat Wall Street expectations. Third quarter sales at Kohl's